As a meteorologist, I've covered plenty of heat waves during recent years. The long hot summer of 2018, for example, and the UK's hottest day on record in 2019. I've also talked to climate scientists about the increased likelihood of heat waves like these occurring in the future. A lot of the time, this can seem quite abstract. What would a heat wave in 2050 really look like from our current perspective? And what impacts could these heat waves have on people's health and well-being? To find out, for the first time ever, we visualised a weather forecast that combined Met Office climate model data for July 2050 with the Met Office weather graphics we use in July 2020. The starting point for all of this is the global Met Office Hadley Centre climate model. This predicts how much the world will warm under various scenarios, from cutting greenhouse gas emissions to zero all the way up to increasing emissions during the 21st century. To understand the impacts on a more regional scale, this information was fed into a version of the model that covers the North Atlantic and Europe at 12-kilometre resolution. It's similar to the weather forecast models we use every day. It simulates different weather patterns, pressure, rainfall, temperature, and how they change day to day. The difference is that these weather patterns occur not in today's world, but in a world made warmer than today by greenhouse gas emissions. For this forecast, the decade 2045 to 2055 was used. 10 years of weather patterns were simulated, not just once, but 12 times, each time with different starting conditions. For the purposes of this demonstration, what they all had in common was that they were based on a world in which greenhouse gases had continued to rise. What we saw was the UK's weather remained very changeable, day to day, season to season. But on the whole, there is an increased frequency of summer heat waves. And when these heat waves occur, they last longer. One of the heat waves was taken from one of the 12 simulations of the model. To see how it compares with our current climate, we plugged that data into Visual Cortex, our weather graphics software. This isn't a weather forecast for July 2050, that would be impossible. But it is possible to see an example of what a heat wave in July 2050 might look like using our current weather graphics and colour scales. As a weather presenter, I can then add messages of advice to the forecast based on the same advice the Met Office typically provides during prolonged periods of heat. We can see how hot it could get, how long it could last, and how often these heat waves could occur, and their impact on the public if greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise. And that is the biggest cause of uncertainty. Our future weather and climate ultimately depend on how much we can curb greenhouse gas emissions in the years to come.